I'm Senator Malcolm Roberts, and I'm on the road. This is a motel room, as you can see, and I've got a very, very special guest. He rose to prominence. I've spoken with him a couple of days ago, and he's very impressive. He rose to prominence with a question on Q&A. His name is Morgan Cox, and I'm delighted to have him as my guest. So, Morgan, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what happened on Q&A, the question you asked, please?
Good morning, Senator. First, I should just say I'm not political at all. I'm very thankful to hear from you, but for me, this is all just about the issue. So I was on ABC Q&A at that time. My family was looking down the barrel of homelessness. We'd had a massive rent hike on top of some other financial troubles. And I just couldn't wear it, and there was nowhere else for us to go. There was no other rentals available in the area that we could afford. I mentioned that on Q&A, and it went quite viral because I feel like millions of other people are in a similar situation. Having done a bit of research after that, I realized how bad it was, and I just felt I wanted to do something about it.
Now you've got a steady job. It's a good job, and you're living. Yeah. You're working in Sydney, but you're living in Central Coast.
That's correct. Yeah. I work mostly in Sydney. I work wherever the work is, but yeah, mostly in Sydney, and I commute every day. Yeah.
And the other day when we first spoke, you told me that you were facing a $10,000 per year rent increase, not the rent increase. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yes. So I received a rent increase notice for $180 a week. So I think that's like $9,500 or something like that a year. Yep. I just rounded it to 10,000 to make it easier. But yes, a massive rent increase. And I understand that many other people have had a similar situation. That's just the whole state of the rental market at the moment.
And you actually said to me that that's pretty savage, but you actually negotiated with your landlord and got the increase down quite a bit because you enjoyed dealing with your landlord. He treated you with respect.
Yes, my landlord has been fantastic. Definitely one of the good ones, and I'm so thankful for that. If I'd had to absorb that cost like so many others, I just don't know how I could have done it. So I've had a much smaller increase, and I'm very thankful for that. And I now have a new lease. So as I sit here before you, our family is no longer in danger of immediate homelessness. I'm really more doing this now for the millions of other people that are in that same situation that I was.
Well, tell us what you're doing. I think the background shifting behind you gives us some sensation of what you're doing, but tell us what you're doing, please, Morgan.
Yeah, a big truck just went past. This is effectively a tent on wheels. So a big truck just went past. Yeah. Big truck went past and the whole thing moved. It's just fabric with a thin metal frame. So it moves. Pretty windy here too. I felt like I'd planned to go on holidays to visit my family. My mum has moved out towards Dubbo, out in the bush there, and I cancelled that. And I just thought it was so important that instead of that, I spent the money on this tent thing, which was very cheap, by the way.
And you got it at a bargain price, didn't you? Because bargain. Anyway, keep going. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no. It's really good actually. I'm amazed. This thing might come in handy. I might hang on to it in case we need it in the future. But it's been really good, and I thought it sends a sort of appropriate message that I wanted to get across, and that is that millions of people are facing homelessness, and something needs to be done. And I know there are lots of things, and I'd love to talk about all of them. I am really just pushing for, at the moment, I'd really like them to address the level of immigration, so to just manage it to a level.
Before you get onto that, tell us your address at the moment.
My address? Where are you? Yeah. I'm parked in front of Albo's mansion in Copacabana. He's not living here. He's got some very lovely tenants. They're very kind and supportive, and they agree. In front of Albo's mansion in Copacabana.
Copacabana is on the central coast of New South Wales?
That's right. Yeah.
Roughly near Gosford for those, between Newcastle and Sydney. And it's
Yeah,
a
definitely.
bedroom suburb for people who work in Sydney, correct? So as well as being tourists and retirees, it's also a place where Australian workers live if they're working in Sydney because the rents are much cheaper.
Yeah, I'm going to say a lot of these houses are Airbnbs, I think. But yeah,
Okay.
there'd be some people that work in Sydney, and yeah, but yeah, there's a pretty fancy area around here. It's pretty nice. It's very beautiful.
Okay. I cut you off just to get the context of where you are and what you're doing, and now you're about to talk about immigration because we are in a housing catastrophe, as we discussed the other day. It is a catastrophe, not a crisis. It's a catastrophe. It's in human catastrophe. Can you and you believe that immigration is the root cause of that? So can you tell us more about that, please?
Okay, I'm not going to go so far as to say it's the root cause. I think it might be the controlling immigration might be the best solution, at least for the short term.
Okay.
I do understand that the Australian population, the natural births, is below replacement level. So I guess mathematically that means every single house we build is for someone coming in. So I propose that if we don't have enough houses and we can't build them fast enough, then the only option we have is to reduce the number of people coming in. It doesn't seem like you need a study to tell you that. It's just how many people and how many houses. And that's the conclusion I came to. And I feel like if we could address that, and that would be very fast to address. During COVID, they locked down the border in a matter of days. So I feel like they could manage the border pretty quickly, and then after that, we'd be able to talk about all the other possible solutions as well.
Right. I know some of the figures, and I think you've made yourself informed about the figures. But before COVID, we had 1.9 million people here on temporary resident visas. After COVID, and now we've got about 2.5 million. So it's gone up 28%, something like that. So that's
Wow.
so that's one thing. We also had 201,000, 202,000 students come in February, just a month before last, and that's a record for February. We've also had in the first 2 years of the Labor government, 1.5 million people come into the country as immigrants. The net migration was about 1 million, I think, which is a huge number, as you point out, to add to the housing crisis.
That's right. That's right. I didn't know about all of those other figures, but I had heard about the 200,000 foreign students that came in February, and that there was no additional houses built. So that just boggles my mind. I just don't understand how they could allow that, because obviously those 200,000 people need somewhere to sleep. So either they are going to be living in tents, or someone else is, or there's going to have to be some kind of other arrangement. It's just a situation that seems untenable to me. I'd like to say, as I said, I think reducing immigration is the first thing to do, but specifically on foreign students, it seems like it'd be a good idea to me if the universities should be held responsible for the people that they bring in, and that they should perhaps build accommodation. If they want to bring lots of people in, I see no reason why they couldn't build accommodation, dormitories somewhere for them to sleep, just to take the pressure off the local population.
Well, you're correct, because every student who is above and I think there are hundreds of thousands of students well above the number of student accommodation. So that means they're going into your market. They're going into the family market and taking beds and houses and driving up your prices for rent.
I strongly suspect that a lot of what I was facing personally might have been a number of foreign students. Where I live, there's a number of universities around, and the reason that my rent might have gone up so high might be because a lot of people are students, foreign or local students, but they might be sharing houses. And when you've got 4 or more people sharing a 2-bedroom apartment that are all working, and in my house we've only got me providing the income, so it's 1 income versus 4. I didn't really have much chance to compete. There's only 24 hours a day to work, and presumably you need to sleep some of those. So yeah, there's just a limit to what a family can do to compete against a number of adults. So yeah, it's a bit of a struggle, and I'd really like to see something done about this to get that situation under control. There's a lot of homeless people in my area. It really breaks my heart to just see elderly women living in cars and families with children living in tents, and it just breaks my heart. And that's why I did this. I sacrificed my own family holiday to try and get the message across to whoever will listen. We just really need it. We need to think about these people. We need to do something, anything we can to help them. It's just not right, especially in the second richest country in the world, I think.
Yeah, per capita, we're probably the richest country in the world in terms of resources. We're just not utilizing them very well. But, you know, Morgan, we've been aware of this situation now for 3 years, and we've been talking about it for 3 years. It's only just recently, and I'm not turning this into a political thing, because I respect your need for being apolitical. It's very important that you remain apolitical. But we have got, Queensland's probably arguably potentially the highest income state in the world. It's not even close to it at the moment, but our resources are right across all sectors of the economy. Yet if you go from Cairns to Townsville, coming down the coast, all of our major cities, Cairns, Townsville, Mackay, Rockhampton, Gladstone, Bundaberg, Maryborough, Gympie, you go down to the Sunshine Coast, you go to the Gold Coast, you go to Brisbane itself, we've got homeless sleeping in cars. And these are working families. You know, they go home at night to see whether or not the kids are still there. Both parents working. Good families.
Right.
Where do the kids? Where does anyone get a shower? Where do they go to the toilet? Ipswich, Boonah, Beaudesert, all of our major towns are facing a homelessness crisis, and they're just getting moved from one park to the next every couple of weeks.
I know, and that's abhorrent to me. I've seen pictures in the news about homeless camps being torn up by excavators and stuff, and that it's just abhorrent that people who have been forced into this situation by government policy are now being told that the situation they're in is illegal, and they're going to have to suffer. It's horrendous. I just can't understand it. It just breaks my heart. It's one thing to be homeless, but then to also be told, you know, you're breaking the law, and to be moved on and have your stuff destroyed and taken away. And I've heard fines as well. I'm not sure if that's true, but I've heard homeless people are being fined for being homeless. I mean, what's going on in this country? It breaks my heart.
It's actually worse. I want to come back and talk more about get you to talk more about your situation before we finish up. But it gets worse than what you've said. That's terrible what you've just said, and you're correct. I know from personal experience with people dealing with providing charity to the homeless. Some people are losing custody of their children because they can't provide accommodation. Can you imagine that? I know how close you are to your 3 boys. I mean,
Absolutely.
Not only do you not have a house, not only are you facing eviction, not only are you facing your tent being destroyed, not only afraid of losing your children, but you actually have your children taken off you by the state government authorities.
Oh, that is just the worst thing I could even imagine. That is just the worst thing I can imagine. Oh, it's just, the situation is just, I can't believe. In my local park, I saw people protesting about Gaza, and I understand that's a terrible situation, and you know, everyone has their opinions on all different things, but I just don't understand why people aren't similarly rallying for the people here who are suffering also horrible situations. And I feel like people should be, there should be rallies everywhere, that we should be camping outside the Capitol. We should be, you know, yelling it from the rooftops. It's an absolutely abhorrent situation that this has been allowed to happen. And by the way, I'm not even blaming the Labor government. I think it's been successive governments for decades that have led here. But I am I am asking that the Labor government or whoever's in power after the election, whoever it is, work with whoever else is there to just get something done about it. I'd like to see, managing immigration but everything that can be done should be done.
Right, and I wanted to ask you. I want to ask you one more question, if you wouldn't mind. You've got big balls for a start, because you're doing this in front of the Prime Minister's mansion. But and you've sacrificed a family holiday, put that money from the holiday to go and see your mum into a second-hand caravan, or not a caravan, it's a pop-up trailer, so that you can draw attention to this crisis, because the media has not got onto what we've been talking about for 3 years. But I want to focus on your mental health, the stress that you suffered when you thought, I could be homeless in 12 months. Tell us about that, because that is a huge crisis itself.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think millions of people, I've been hearing stories about people committing suicide with the financial situation just being unmanageable, just desperate people. And especially when you're a man, I think it's the man in most situations, and most of the people I know, the man feels a responsibility to take care of his family. And especially something like having your children taken away, but even just being unable to provide them with the things they need, even though you're working and working very hard and doing everything you can, but not being able to provide for your family, it's just absolutely devastating. And I'm sorry to be emotional, but it breaks my heart to think about the situation. People are literally dying here in Australia. We're spending I think I heard $600 billion or something in election promises, and it's just it just boggles my mind that we don't care about the old lady living in her car, or the family living in a tent. I can't get that. I can't accept that. It's where are the government? What are they doing? It's their job to manage the country. Where are they? It breaks my heart.
Well, thank you for having the courage to talk about it. You raised a very important point about the mental health and the sense of responsibility and the sense of hopelessness in fathers and mothers when they're protecting their children, because there's nothing more important to you than your children. But you pointed out that you've got a good job and yet you can't provide. So energy costs, it's basically the survival of Australian workers and families. That's what
right.
we're talking about. I made a list of issues: housing catastrophe, immigration. I won't get into the others, but it makes it very, very difficult for people to survive. And yet this is happening in a country with the most resources and the richest resources per person in the world. So there's something wrong with our use of our resources.
Absolutely. I'm not an expert by any means. I'm just a man with a sign, but I understand that every year we're giving away over $100 billion worth of liquid natural gas effectively for free. And yet we've got old ladies living in cars and families in tents, and I just can't believe it. I just can't believe the way the government has managed this country. And I'm not even specifically blaming Albo. The situation we're in boggles my mind.
Is there something you'd like to wrap up with? And I'll leave the final word to you, Morgan. And before doing so, I just want to say thank you so much for having the courage to do that, the sacrifice you're making right now to do the protest. You've got some media, got some attention to it. So the tens of thousands of people in dire straits around the country under cost of living pressures and homelessness would thank you. So because you've managed to achieve what our figures and our research has not been able to achieve, you've actually got the attention of the media and you focused it. So thank you so much for what you're doing for all of Australia. And I'll leave you with a final comment.
I'd just like to say to any politicians that want to give me a call, I'd love to introduce you to some people and show you how it is down here in the real world, and get you out of your bubbles. And if you could see for yourself, maybe you'd understand. And I'd really like to see something done about this. I really want to see something done about this.
Thank you so much for your courage on Q&A. Thank you so much for your courage in doing what you're doing, and for being on the show this morning. And all the very best, and let's stay in touch. And I want to thank Stuart Bonds also, and Hunter, for giving me your contact details and urging me to talk with you. I really enjoyed our conversation on Sunday.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Morgan.